toys today, I feel like it's playing to the parents, right? Because who are you buying them for, you or your kid? I don't know that I could truthfully answer that question, and I think the wife would agree.
We have a list of companies founded, and Amazon is they changed the world, man. Literally, how we go about doing anything.
Yeah, buddy. We done did it.
Yeah, we have.
We made it to episode 5, technically 6 officially, if you count that intro.
Yeah.
Of season 2 of the Twisted Eras podcast, our deep dive into 1994, and we're bringing it home.
We are the catch-all, as we like to call it. We're going to talk pop culture and news and products and you name it. Just, a lot of the things that just weren't in a category that we looked at that were very interesting about 94. And, so many of them relate to today as well, of where, technology was advancing so fast in 94, and we're doing the same thing now. Technology is just zooming through, but I did want to open this one. I have loved this trip down memory lane. 94 is my wheelhouse. Like I say, I was 21, but I can't thank everybody enough for the comments and the likes and shares, the feedback that we've gotten from this season. We weren't sure. The first season was, hey, let's just do a couple of topics. And the second one, we planned it out. We put all this, and so it's been awesome. To hear everybody go, oh yeah, I remember this as well, and I remember this as well, and that's a great call out, and oh yeah, this is cool, and the playlist I sent out, the playlist is so good.
Yeah.
I mean, some of those songs are terrible, but it's still, it's like, this song is awful, but it brought back so many memories. So can't thank everybody enough. Really appreciate it. If you like the show, you like this content, you want to see more of it, like YouTube,
Keep
Apple
engaging.
Music. Yeah, Spotify. Let us know. It's great. It's great to see those, and we really appreciate it.
We're everywhere, and we talked off air, so I'm gonna capture it in published form here and hold us to it at some point. It doesn't necessarily have to be season 3, but once we get enough submissions of ideas and all that good stuff, I'm thinking a user or listener generated season would be pretty cool. All ideas submitted by listeners of the show and what they want to do or what they want to hear us deep dive into, and have that, drive an entire season of content for us. I think it'd be pretty cool.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And you get that interaction going, because sometimes those are going to be topics that we may not be as familiar with, and we have to lean on.
Right. We got to learn.
Others.
Or
yeah, exactly.
Or hey, maybe bring a guest on. I don't know. We haven't done it yet.
We have not. But
all open to guests.
We are open. We just love going through and talking about all these cool things that, all the different eras and where things come from. And as you can see, sometimes the crusty, grouchy old guy has even turned to say, yeah, I like it better today than I did in the past. There's only a few of those things that are ever going to happen. But yeah, it was great. This season has been awesome.
Hey, there's been moments of the younger guy turning into the crusty old guy too. So
I like
I'm
that. See,
learning
that's my whole goal.
Be a curmudgeon. It's
that's
okay.
my job.
That's called maturing in life, right?
There you go. There
Getting
you
grumpy.
go. That's right. At some point, we all get grumpy. But yeah. So, but just wanted to right from the beginning thank everybody. Really appreciate it. This one's going to be I call it, like I say, the catch-all. It's everything that we thought interesting in 94 that we had not talked about yet.
Where do you want to start?
It's a good question.
So many, I love your we go back and forth. We'll give a little behind the scenes glimpse at how we do some of our research and talking to one another. Obviously, a lot of email, right? Back and forth, talking about different topics. And you kind of summarize it in the first line of like your first email about it. It's toys, scandals, and news. That's toys? Like those are the things, right? Do you want to start with the toys, the scandals, or the news?
Yes, I think the toys are a great way to start.
Light, a little lighthearted.
Yeah. Let's go with the light. But what's funny is, this is, we talked about in music and movies. I was 21. This is my wheelhouse. I think you were 6 or
Right. Yep.
7 in this era, and so
Yep.
toys are your
Hey,
wheelhouse.
I grew up with
This was like
it.
perfect time, and the toys were
They
in
were
the 80s.
different.
Toys are
Yeah.
definitely started gravitating towards TV. So
Hmm.
hey, there's a GI Joe toy in the store. Let's have a GI Joe TV
Yeah.
show, Transformers and stuff like that. So you're still seeing some of that, but they are transitioning out, and I I had worked at Toys R Us randomly. I can call that out because it's not a company anymore. I guess they're still
They're a
trying.
brand. They're like
They're
they're one of
trying.
those store inside of stores in Macy's, I think,
They
or
yeah, they
something like that.
absolutely
I
they
remember
can
I
they can sponsor
covered
this if
at
they want.
a previous job the demise of Toys R Us and then the
Yes.
subsequent like auctioning off of their brand and then the relaunch of Toys R Us, all within the
So
matter of months.
yeah, Christmas of '93, January of '94. That whole I
Wow.
worked at Toys R Us,
Oh, did you
so
get a Black Friday at Toys R Us?
I did. I
How
did.
wild was that?
Yes. So what that's a funny era. We could talk about that too. The
Oh my God,
difference
yeah.
between Black Friday then
To,
and Black Friday now.
yeah,
We didn't open, you obviously weren't open on Thanksgiving.
right,
And I don't even remember us opening like super early. Like Toys
right.
R Us in Christmas opened at 8 o'clock anyway. I mean, it was
Mhm.
early. So they may have opened at 7, but it was not that big a deal. The sales were there, obviously, but
Yeah.
you know, and there were specials, but I was,
Do you
um,
remember? Well, actually, interested. We could deep dive into this. This is kind of
yeah,
fun. I'm
yeah,
learning this about you.
yeah.
Were you in a department of
I
Toys R Us?
was, I was. So I was in the back essentially. So Toys R Us had this weird system of ticketing.
Okay.
So you had like
Yeah.
products that you picked the ticket up
Right.
and you bought the
And someone
ticket
went to the back warehouse
and
or the
got it.
stock room and brought it out for you.
I
Yeah.
was that guy,
Okay.
Hey, I got it, and and I'm sitting here. I had my little, the Toys R Us. We had
Yeah.
the smocks,
Yep.
and I was like, hey, we have a customer pickup on the giant Lincoln Logs box set. I'm like, okay, and I would go into the back, and there's the giant Lincoln Logs, and I would bring it to the happy customer and be like,
That's
hey,
awesome. Do you
yep.
remember how many Black Fridays did you work?
It was just the one.
Just
I only
one?
worked there for the 1 year.
Do
Yeah.
you remember
Yep.
what was there like a certain thing that Black Friday that was what you brought out most often?
Yeah. Yeah. So what pickup did a lot were bikes,
Yeah.
bigger
Like, do
items.
you have to
But
build them?
there was a guy whose literal job, he
A
built
bike
bikes
builder. Yeah.
all day long. Yep, that's what he did. But what I remember is funny, the number one toy in '94, which would have been the following Christmas,
Right.
was the Power Rangers, which
Yeah.
in
Oh my God. Yeah.
'94 explodes.
Yep.
In '93, there was I want to say an X-Man series that had come out, an
Hmm.
Invisible Man or a free. There was a clear action figure. He was very hard to find, and you would
Yeah.
catch people in the back searching through boxes
But you know, it's I'm
trying to find him.
blanking. I'm blanking on the name, but all I can think about is the Arnold movie where he becomes the
Hmm.
action figure that like everyone's looking for.
Jingle all the way.
Yeah, right. And
Yeah,
no
like
one can find
Astro
it.
Man or
Yeah,
something like
Astro.
that.
He becomes Astro
But
Man.
that's what it was. It
Yeah.
absolutely was like that. And like Sega had put out, I think the Sega CD that year, and we never
Okay.
had any of those,
Yeah.
and so that was one. But this is right before the explosion. The Power Rangers explode
Yeah.
in
And
'94.
there's a really good. I don't. It's not necessarily around '94, but there's I watched it on a plane, so I'd have to look up and maybe I'll leave some info if I can find it underneath or
Mhm.
over top here on what the series was. But there's a whole series of like kind of mini documentaries on different aspects of the toy industry and how they
Mhm.
took off for like a great one like the rise of Scrabble like was one of the episodes. There was the rise of the of Hasbro and Tonka like battling over the transforming trucks. So like there was the Bandai version and like the Transformers version. There was another version of Transformers that launched before Transformers, but because Hasbro got the Transformers license, like
It
Transformers is
was
what really took off. They
it
were
was like
called like
GoBots or something like
something like
that.
that. Yeah. So like it was about the whole episode about the battle of those, and how Transformers won. But like
GoBots was Tonka.
Tonka. Yeah. So like the whole, look at that. And I remember
Wow.
it was all about like you mentioned it, right? The cartoons and everything that
Hmm.
were kind of taken over and the toys were what really determined the success of the cartoon and like,
Yep.
different toy companies and all that sort of stuff. So really cool series if you're into toys and things like I think
Yeah.
it also one of them highlighted like the launch of Mario or like the Game Boy, and like
Uh,
how the Game Boy evolved and the guys behind eight like how they invented Mario and what Mario was before it was actually Mario, and all that sort of like a really cool mini documentary series on these things. But Power Rangers, 100% my wheel. I love Transformers. I have Transform. I think I have my original Optimus Prime in a closet downstairs that I can probably pull out and throw some pictures of over top of this. But um, definitely the Power Ranger. Like my kid today, my oldest son is 7.
mhm.
So if you're watching the video version, don't judge that. I just had to make that face. But no, he's playing with some of my old Power Ranger toys. Like I remember Christmases. I've got like they called them Zords, I think. Like they were different animals or whatever they were. There was like a T-Rex. The version of Power Rangers I grew up on was all dinosaur based. So there was like a pterodactyl and a triceratops. The Red Ranger was the T-Rex, but then they all came together and formed the Mega, not Megatron because that's Transformers, but like the Megazord or whatever the name was. I'm gonna get
What?
yeah right. So they all came together,
You're
formed the
making
Mega
all
thing.
this up on the
Nope,
fly. Are you
I wish.
not? This
No,
is legit.
this is 100% legit. So I had the thing where they all came together and built the bigger bot that they would get in and battle whatever the bad guy was that episode. And the evil Rita was her name. She had these like horns that came off of her head. Um, so like I have all of those at my mom's house. I've got a couple of them here at my house now, and the kids are playing with them. So cool to see those things. Have some legs too. Power Rate, like they're all starting to, and there's a whole separate conversation here around like the resurgence of these things, kind of
Hmm.
related back to vinyl and our music discussion.
Hmm.
Toys today, I feel like it's playing to the parents, right? Like they know that that when I was a kid, I was playing with Power Rangers and I was playing with Transformers. You see the
Hmm.
movies that are coming out these days. Power Rangers is back. Not that it's necessarily a movie, but there's the TV series. Pokemon still big today. And there's lots of toys and cards games and things like that.
Right.
Transformers, you got the movies that came out, however many years after all the original toys. It's like playing to the parents to bring these things back because who are you buying them for? You or your kid? So, right? And I don't know that I could truthfully answer that question, and I think the wife would agree. But yeah, I mean, I remember my mom for Christmases like having to fight to find or like leverage connections of people she knew at certain stores to find these toys and like, hey, can you put one aside so we can get one for Christmas for Rob or whatever it was. There was the sword. If you remember the Green Ray, for anyone listening that remembers Power Rangers, there was the Green Ranger, and he had this like little dagger sword that he played like a flute to call his dinosaur, uh, you know, Power Ranger thing to into battle, and like I have that sword, and that was like one of those big things that was like impossible to find back then. So, but yeah, like it's just they were massively popular, massively
Yeah.
popular. So
And you say there's a resurgence of them as well,
yeah,
like
absolutely.
today?
Like if you go into I know there obviously there's not Toys R Us, but like any big box store that has a toy department or even the Toys R Us inside of department stores, you see these things and the aisles are packed. Like there's the ones that are always like Hot Wheels are always there and they've got their things like Barbie's always there. But the action figure aisles, I mean, there's entire sections for Pokemon, there's sections for Transformers, there's sections for uh WWE action figures were a thing too. So, think back to yeah, in addition to having like old signs behind my bed that I made up for going to WWE shows back in the day. Like I also had
Nice.
the action figures. So like they're
Yeah.
still around. I had like the Rock and Stone Cold in position doing the rock bottom and the stunner to different figures up on a shelf when I was a kid. Like those are still around and still being made. And I mean, it's just wild to walk through. It's like a trip down memory lane for myself every time I take my own kids through the toy aisles. Legos, I was big on Legos. And that, I don't know if they were I don't remember how much they cost back then. I could look it up, right? But looking at them today, I'm like, I can't imagine my parents having spent that much on the big sets of Legos that are like now, $300. But even how they're making Legos, that
Yeah.
I don't, they were simple back in the day when I
Hmm.
was a kid. But today you look at it, they've got, these sets that are just so complex and involved that it's almost like they grew that business and those products to match the kids from when I was a kid. So like now I can make a typewriter out of Legos. Like
Yeah.
they have like the giant model cars that you can build out of Legos. And like, I mean, the massive popularity of that company and their product, it feels like it evolved with the kids of the day.
I think you're dead on. And you think
Yeah.
about everything that you played with as a kid, like, so you talk about, toys, they have evolved. The we love NASCAR. We did a whole episode
Yeah.
on NASCAR, but Netflix did the NASCAR special,
Yeah.
and they were interviewing William Byron, and behind William Byron is a Titanic, and of course, so
Yep.
you start zooming in, like, what is this? It was a
Lego.
Lego
Yeah.
Titanic.
Yeah. Yep.
And he talked about in that episode that he's, I don't know, 25, 26, and still does Legos because it like calms him down or
Yeah.
whatever.
Hmm.
But if you think about like a comic book shop in 1994, you would go into the comic book shop and it would be like, Spider-Man, whoever, whatever.
Yep.
You go into a comic book shop today and it's almost like an adult store because it has aged, like the kids who were reading comic books in the 80s are now 40 years old and
Yeah.
now, and so they still like comic books,
Yep.
but they want like more adult style comics. So you go in the
Yeah.
comic book shop and you're like, "Well, what happened, man?
It's wild.
And video games are the same way.
Oh,
Video
absolutely.
games, you had video games were just toys, right?
Right.
And now it's like a culture, a way of life. It's a job for some people.
I
We actually have all these video game sports now and all this stuff. So
Yeah.
I think you're dead on. It's like,
Well, I mentioned the like I don't know who are you shopping for, you or your kids? I'm in an interesting spot with some of that stuff because when I'm in there and I feel like I am shopping for myself, it's you don't want to be that parent that's like, well, no, this has to stay in the box. You can't play with this, right? But when you talk about those more advanced, like uh to stick with Legos, like you could buy a Coliseum kit and build the Coliseum or Van Gogh. They've got like Lego Van Gogh where you can make the Starry Night, right? Like that sort of stuff,
wow.
right? So like those are cool, and as much as I want them, I also don't want to, have them built and then like put them on a shelf. And I've got kids that I know are gonna like tear it
Yeah,
down, take it apart. I don't know. It's like the
it's
Lego
tough.
movie, The Craggle. Have you
Yeah,
ever watched the Lego movie? And
yeah,
but like I don't want to be that parent, so I
right.
avoid trying to buy those things as much as possible because I don't want to make it not
Yeah.
fun as well. I want to
Wasn't
have fun with it.
wasn't it the second Toy Story where
Oh
the
yeah.
one
Hmm.
toy is still in the
Yeah,
box?
Woody. Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. Spoiler alert! If you haven't seen Toy Story 2, he actually wasn't in the box. He kept himself in the box to make it seem like he was still, in pristine condition. But like all these weird things were happening as Woody was
Yeah,
getting fixed, and they were in the glass cases where he actually had let himself out of the box. But no,
gotcha.
I know what you're talking
But
about,
it's a great way to look at it. I was thinking
Yeah,
about, you talked about the Power Ranger sword you had, and I imagine if you go to eBay, somebody had bought that Power Ranger sword and it's still in a sealed box.
right.
And it's like, and let's say they want, I don't know, $500 for it, and you think, I got more than $500 worth of enjoyment out of this as a kid by walking around my neighborhood with this sword and whatever. That's where I start thinking about it. It's like, oh man, I wish I'd never taken this out of the box. But think about all the amazing things you were able to do with that thing. So
Oh, it
it's
makes
tough.
me sick looking at it. There's one on this is Amazon though. The Legacy sword. Oh my God,
Hmm.
$400
Wow.
for that sword. That's incredible. I'm gonna have to put pictures of it over top because I mean the thing was neat. It had like buttons on it like a flute, and a mouthpiece, quote unquote, area, like not
Yeah.
real. So it wasn't like a real flute that you could play, but you would hit the buttons and it would make the song that he would play on the sword flute thing, and no, it was cool.
Well, before we move on, I will say I did pull a number. The Power Rangers, as I say, were number one toy
Yeah.
in '94 with they accounted for 1 billion in sales, and that's 1 billion in 1994
Mm,
dollars, not today dollars. So,
wow.
unreal year. Back then, obviously, you would have gone to get your Power Rangers at Toys R Us. If you were going to do it today, you would conceivably go to maybe an Amazon or something like that. And we have a list
Yeah.
of companies that I guarantee you utilize still to this day that were founded. And Amazon is the biggie.
Yeah.
Now,
It's
granted, he incorporated it in '94, but he actually started selling books in
95.
'95.
Yeah.
But the store was built in '94, and he started looking at what he wanted to sell.
And you mentioned it. It started as just books.
Just books, because he
Just
found that was
books.
going to be easy. Because they had talked about maybe doing some tech and stuff, and he was like, "Well, tech is quick. Books have been around for a very long time. Nobody's going to get rid of books, right? This is
Yeah.
internet proof, right? No, same deal. But anyway, it was founded there in Seattle, there, '94. And voila, you talk about changing the world.
Yeah.
They changed the world, man. I mean,
Mhm.
literally, how we go about doing anything
I mean,
is.
what company today doesn't attempt at least to offer free shipping, and not even just free shipping, but free and fast shipping?
Hmm.
And like that, well, we're sitting here on the cusp. This will actually publish the week of I don't know if we timed this perfectly or what, but like we start the season on June 17th with that big event. We end
Yeah.
the season on Prime Day.
Hey,
Like, wait a
Amazon, you
minute.
can throw a few bucks our way if
Right?
you want. I know you've got it.
We'll have to put some affiliate links in the
That's
bio,
right.
and y'all
Yes.
can go
Yes.
shop
Go shop
and
at Amazon under
earn us
the
a few
Twisted Arrows
dollars.
banner. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
what a bookend though. That's pretty cool. Cool
Yeah.
that we unintended but did that. Talk about Amazon the week of Prime Day, but
Yeah.
like
Well,
everything that's become like just the 2 day shopping event in the summer, Christmas in July event. Pre Black Friday shopping, and just it's and every retailer tries to imitate them.
everybody, and now granted, it used to be a lot better. It's not cheap anymore. I think it's $140 a year
Yeah,
to get that privilege, and you start. And to be fair, they want you to bulk your stuff. Hey, order it and ship once a week. But I was like, you're charging $140. I'm going to ship as
when I
fast as
want
humanly possible.
it. Yeah.
I ran out of shampoo this morning. The shampoo will be here in the morning. And so I
Yeah.
will order an $8 bottle of shampoo from them because I know I'm not going to be able to get out today. And voila, it's unreal. Who would have ever dreamed in '94?
Well, even like beyond the shopping aspect and the website there, like you talk about the other services, and this could tie in. You could almost look at every other episode we've done. The TV, they've got the A24 Studios. They do TV, they do movies. You've got Amazon Music that rivals as a service to Spotify and Apple Music, and everything there. But then like beyond that too, there's Apple Pharmacy. So like they're getting into
Amazon,
the pharmacy
Amazon.
business, or I'm sorry, yeah, Amazon Pharmacy, like
Yeah,
into the pharmacy business, and right, yeah, no, not Apple Pharmacy yet. If that's an
no,
idea they haven't even
no,
thought about, I should
yeah,
trademark that now.
like exactly.
But
We own
like,
that Apple.
yeah, right, that's ours. Don't even attempt it. But like all of the ancillary businesses that Amazon's involved in, that
Yep.
like a retailer shouldn't be, but you can't even call them that anymore. They are just like a global brand, that is just almost unrivaled today.
Think about their shipping fleet to
Mhm.
deliver all this stuff. They
They've
have they have
upended
their
the mail industry.
they
It's
have.
just like,
It's
oh,
it's
I
unreal.
mean, they're
It's
keeping
unreal.
the postal service in business.
But yep, yep. It is wild. I thought that was incredible. Granted they start selling books in '95, but they actually come together as a company in '94. So they're
Yeah,
celebrating their 30th anniversary. And you talk about another one that pops in. Amazon obviously making movies, and DreamWorks,
yeah.
which DreamWorks Studios was founded in '94 with Spielberg and
Mhm.
Katzenberg and David Geffen, and the stuff that they were able to put out. Now they have sold since. It's not it's now run by somebody else, but their run of films. um, you know, just was massive there. Now, granted, all those guys were huge in the movie world, but
If you had, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, if you had to guess what their highest grossing film ever was, do you know? Do you know what it is, or
do you
what would
have
you?
it? Are
I
you
do.
testing me?
I am testing you.
Is it the second Shrek?
It is. Damn,
Yeah.
you're good.
Sorry.
So, right, highest grossing film in North America and worldwide for them. So, Shrek 2
Yeah.
in North America grossed 441 million, and globally it was 935.45 million.
Yeah.
Closely followed by the two of the Transformer movies.
Yeah.
And then in fourth place in North America,
Yeah.
Meet the Fockers. Like what? What's that tell you?
Yeah.
But,
No,
oh man,
Shrek 2, Shrek was big, but
yeah.
Shrek built afterwards, on video and DVD and stuff like that, and everybody who didn't find it in the theater found it. And so when Shrek 2 comes out, voila, massive, massive movie.
Yeah. Shrek is
But
number 5 in North America, number 8 globally for them.
yep. But
Crazy.
like, and we talked about this in the sports episode, but Fox Sports was not a thing.
Yeah.
There was no Fox Sports,
Right.
Fox Sports starts in 94 with the NFL.
In
And
response, I have to imagine to the rising success of ESPN.
it's not even that. It's the fact that they wanted to get they had no sports at all. CBS, ABC,
Right.
NBC had all the sports, and they wanted to get in. ESPN had started showing Sunday Night Football by
Hmm.
that point in time, so they were in. ESPN got into the MLB in the mid '80s, so they
Right.
were in. But they, Fox was struggling with trying to find shows. You had Married with Children, 21 Jump Street. You had some
Yep.
some great shows, but they just didn't have enough, and so they started trying. What can we get in? And they threw a massive amount of money at the NFL, and
I
I hate to
think
use
it
the
worked
word
out.
stole, but they stole the package from CBS.
Yeah.
And, and from that point, yes, it has worked out very well for them. They did have hockey for a little while. If you look
Yeah.
this up, a lot of people
Uh
don't remember this. They had a weird that they had put a chip in the puck and they
y-
would have a blue
the
orb
haze
around
around it.
them.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
the I remember this was the coolest feature that Fox ever introduced with and they probably have a few more that you could highlight,
Yep.
but the one that stands out to me is the puck that
Yeah.
you could lose it on TV. So like
Yep.
when you're watching on TV, it's hard to follow the puck. You kind of the camera does a decent job, but especially when it's on the near side boards of
Hmm.
the rink and it like there's no cameras that like it's blocked by people and the boards and everything. So they
Hmm.
would put the blue aura around the puck and follow it so you could see it through the crowd and know where it was.
Yep. And when they hit it really hard, it would have a stream
Yeah,
of
right.
fire that came out of the end of it. Yeah.
Cool as
Yeah.
hell.
But like the purists thought it was the
The
worst
dumbest
thing
thing. Right.
ever.
I
But
can only
for
imagine what
younger folks,
purists think about the strike zone showing up on
uh,
baseball.
now I consider myself a baseball purist and I love the strike zone.
Right?
So I will say that. But yeah, but like NASCAR, they take NASCAR from CBS too. CBS
Hmm.
had started showing NASCAR and they showed the first live event in '79. It's huge,
They've
and
done some
then
fun digital things with NASCAR too, haven't they? Like,
absolutely, man. They've had all sorts of, to crank it up. One of the
yeah,
coolest
yeah.
things about you don't get
Oh,
with
yeah.
NASCAR is the sound. It's incredible. That's why you go to these races. It shakes you, and the just boom. And they were like, okay, let's crank this thing up, and camera angles, places, and to showcase the speed and
Yeah.
stuff like that. CBS had done a lot of cool stuff. Don't get me wrong. When you talk to when Dale Earnhardt Jr. talks about some of those classic races, he talks about the camera angles. And
Yeah.
the CBS had figured out if they held the camera when the cars left pit row, and you had this neat shot. I think they even used it in Days of Thunder as well.
Yeah.
He loves that shot. So
Yep.
it's not like CBS wasn't doing cool stuff, but
Fox just
Fox
took it to another
utilized it.
level.
And technology had advanced to the point where you could showcase speed at all times. You could showcase truly how far away a car was. So
Yeah.
yeah, the Fox Sports is wild because to not have anything, they have nothing up until this point, and now they are ingrained in when you hear the da 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 da, you're just like this is it's time for NFL football.
Yeah. I making me wonder. I'd have to look it up, but like, who invented the yellow first down line? Because that seems like
Mm,
something they could have done, but I don't think it was them. I think it was an
utter,
ESPN thing. There's
probably that's genius as well.
yeah. Well, we'll dive into it. But we'll
Yeah.
put a link in. It's got a pretty cool. Sport Vision is the name of the company. Stan Honey,
Okay.
and it introduced the 1st and 10 yellow first down marker. So not specifically Fox Sports, but it was invented by Sport Vision, a leader in sports broadcasting technology. So, but like that's
But,
the type of stuff they messed
yeah,
around
but
with, and pretty
you know
cool.
that's amazing technology. Well, technology was exploding in '94. Um, I don't. It's hard to even describe. We're going to have an entire episode on the internet. Trust me.
It's gonna happen.
It's going to happen. But in this era, if you weren't around at this point in time, the internet was basically AOL. CompuServe. Seemed like there was one more, and they would literally send you floppy disks in the mail, and you would put this into your computer, and it would load the program, and then you would go directly into AOL to go to the internet, and that's how you got the internet. And I've seen reports of how much the 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 budget was for marketing because it was physical media. It was a floppy disk, and they had to load all this on floppy disk and then mail all this crap out. And what's funny is like if you go to eBay now, there are people selling that. I've got an
Yeah,
original floppy disk of AOL, and it was like, yeah, we all had 500 of them that we
they were
threw
like
away.
the 3 hours free or something like that was the offer, wasn't it,
Yes,
or
it would
whatever it
go.
was?
Yeah, yeah, three
Yeah,
hours free, 10 hours
yeah,
free, 20 hours free.
yeah.
It kept getting higher and higher and higher. But so that's how we got on the internet at that time. And then in late '94, Netscape uh, is released, and it's considered the first commercial successful web browser. And
Hmm.
now, you're watching this on Chrome or Safari or Edge or whatever. But
Yep.
Netscape was that first, one that was released in, and it was released in '94, and um, it obviously is no longer. I don't think Netscape is around anymore. I did see something where they eventually released their code with an open source license where others can use it, and it led to the creation of Firefox.
They went
So
they went defunct in 2003. Their
2003.
parent organization was AOL at the time.
Okay,
There must have been
so
a like
AOL probably
AOL
bought them or
by
something.
Netscape.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but anyway, I thought that was interesting that after they went defunct, they put their source code out and allowed anybody to use it, and their Mozilla
Yeah.
uses it to create Firefox. So that was pretty cool. Um, Yahoo was founded in '94 as well. I still don't
Still,
know
I
how
have.
Yahoo has anything
Well,
going on today.
Verizon made a big investment in them at some
Yeah.
point, and wanted to like leverage them for news and stuff like that, and it never really took off. I'll be honest. One of my first outside of AOL,
Hmm.
I have an email account. Like one of my first personal email accounts was a Yahoo account. I still
Okay.
have it. It's
Okay.
like where I think if you logged into it, it's like all the spam emails and stuff.
Yes.
That's what I initially. I think the reason I'm still tied to it, honestly, is because that's what I had set up my Apple ID on. Before Apple had like iCloud and you would get iCloud emails, you had to have
Yeah.
your Apple ID email.
Yeah.
And I used my Yahoo email for it. So that's why I still have my Yahoo account.
Now that you say that, I still have mine too.
Yeah.
It's still one of my favorites, and I've never gotten rid of it. But like they sponsor NASCAR, they're in this.
Yeah,
But I'm like,
absolutely.
how is Yahoo making
It's still a
any
thing. Yeah.
any money today? But
Yeah.
it's funny, when you look back, they were, Stanford was the
Mm.
hub in the early '90s of, and even into 2000s,
Yep.
it's where Google comes from and all this. But these Stanford grads did Yahoo as well, and it actually meant something. It essentially they had built a directory, to search index pages and stuff like that, and they had an acronym for, yet another hierarchically organized Oracle or whatever.
The more you know.
Yeah.
Right?
So anyway, but yeah,
Yeah.
but I
What the
thought that
old
was
weren't there commercial like Yahoo?
absolutely
Like, is that a thing?
that
Am I
was
remembering
it.
that? Yeah.
Yes,
Right?
yes. But the crazy thing is, when we looked at this, is they sold the company to Verizon, like you
Yeah.
said, for $4.5 billion less than 10 years ago.
They sold him a
Verizon
lemon.
paid
I'm not gonna lie. I think they sold him a
Verizon
lemon.
Verizon bought this less than 10 years ago for $4.5 billion. I'm like, why?
Why? Like, why? What do you
But
need that for? There's got
anyway,
to
I
be
thought
some
that
underlying like
there's something we're
motive
missing.
there,
Something
right?
something
They
we're
know.
missing.
I
But
have to know. If they don't, then they need some serious intervention work.
I thought that was so funny. It was like I can't. Number one, how are they still around? When I see them on the cup cars, and I'm like, what? Who are
Who?
you advertising to? What are we doing here?
Oh,
Um, but it leads us in to another thing that was interesting. We found, we mentioned scandals, and this isn't a
yeah.
huge scandal, but this was like there is a debate. But 1994 is the first year that a let's see here encrypted
Hmm.
legit
Online.
online purchase is
Yep.
made. And there are, competing stories about who did it first. We know that both of them did it in 1994, but one
Just a matter of
claims,
when
yeah, yeah. And
and who
so,
it truly was.
but the wild one, you can go through the first, we talked about is this, what was it called? The guy, it's Dan Cohn. In August of 94, he created a website he called Net Market, and he put some things on there, and he sold a CD, of Sting's 10 Summoner's Tales to his friend for $12.48 plus shipping. That was encrypted. And he claims that, that is the first legitimate purchase on the web. Now, other side in the Southern California, I think they said in Santa
Yeah.
Cruz, an independent owner of Pizza Hut had
One of their
built
franchisees.
as a
Yeah.
franchisee had built his own non-pizzahut.com. I don't believe. I think he built his own
Which, by the way, it was pizza.net. Like,
pizza.net.
I wonder how
Yes.
much he was able to sell that for later on down the road.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
you talk
And
about internet domains and how expensive they can be. If you don't know, just go try to like go on a GoDaddy or one of those sites and try to just type in a random word and see what the potential cost. Actually, while we're sitting here, I'm gonna do it.
we're gonna do that. You're gonna do it live. While he's doing that, um, I will say that of the things I have bought on the internet, pizza and CDs are probably two of the highest. The pizza thing is genius because you always had to call in and what toppings, what sauce, what crust, all these things. He made it so easy to sit there and go, I want sausage and onion and thin crust and voila. And so genius, genius.
Maybe not as expensive as I thought it'd be. One night,
Pizza.net,
$120 if I wanted it, but it's already owned. Like obviously it's already owned because it's
sure.
being used, right?
Well,
But
it
GoDaddy thinks I could get it for $120.
well, here's the problem is that they all have their own now. But
Right.
back in the day, it would have been way more valuable than 100
Yeah. Oh, well, here you go. Scroll down. So like there's other ones. So the for anyone that knows how the internet works, there's obviously the .com that's like the most popular, most used domain out there. A couple of years ago, I want to say I remember covering the story. It's called ICANN. I forget what the acronym stands for, but it's like all about like internet, like the domains and like domain usage. And they opened up the domain. So initially there was like .org, .net, .com,
Yes.
.gov, and that was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
.edu was out there too. So a few of those, but like they were all limited. It was very limited. Now you can do dot almost anything, and it's
Anything.
completely exploded the internet in terms of like usage. .inc is out there as well, but like pizza .online as an example is available for $16,000. Pizza .shop is available for $14,000. So like there's all of these out there. Pizza.food is available for $2,030. So like
What
it's
can you get?
just
What can you get pizza.church for?
ooh, I'll tell you. The Church of Pizza,
Church of Pizza.
$120.
See, there you
But it's
go.
it's taken. Someone already had
Somebody
that
bought
idea. Yeah,
pizza.church.
church for $120. The Church of Pizza is the thing.
Uh,
It's just wild.
gosh, that's too
Oh
funny,
man.
man.
But so do you have a like looking at those two stories, do you pick a side?
Whew, they both make perfect sense. Um, the I would venture a guess to say me sending a link to my friend to be able to order something is a little different than me opening it up to the entire Santa Cruz
Yeah.
Valley to be able to order pizza, right?
Yeah,
So
for sure.
so he may have absolutely sold something to his friend, but I
For
got to think that the pizza.net, which somebody said is one of the first few thousand websites ever created,
yeah.
it's probably, you know,
I just like the
probably the way to go.
idea. The other one, the guy's friend was in Philly, so there's a Philly
There you
tie.
go. There you go.
Not that that has no skin in the game, other than the fact that the first purchase online might have happened in Philadelphia.
But I will tell you this as somebody who was 21 and 94. I wasn't buying anything online. It was a scam. There was nothing, I'm not giving you my credit
Yeah,
card.
no, hell
No
no, not a
shot. I
chance.
can't. I was sitting there trying to think of the first thing I ever bought online where I would have, you know, and it leads into obviously we talk 94 here, but the whole idea of PayPal was genius to be
Oh,
able to, you know, with eBay. Yeah,
mhm.
yeah, just send me your credit card. I'm Joe Sixpack in my garage selling your wrench here. I'll take that. Oh, $5,000, And so when they create PayPal to be able to, well, we can take payments for, yard sale items on eBay, it was genius. And I think that's probably when I become more interested in it as you're not just sending over your credit card number to random stranger for
Well,
junk in his garage.
that was the whole premise behind, wasn't it? 40-year-old virgin Elizabeth Banks like runs an eBay shop,
Okay.
right? She like opens an eBay store in a strip mall, and it's where
Yes.
Steve goes in and meets her or something, and is like, "Don't you like? Why do you have this store? Because aren't you just selling this stuff from your house? Like, what's the point of why I
Yeah.
can't buy it here? I still got to go buy it online. I got to buy it on eBay. Like,
Yeah,
can I
that will
get
be
it? Can I
one.
just get this here?
We talk about not aging well. That doesn't
You
age well
know,
because nobody's going to know what in the world purpose was this.
it's amazing."
But no, I was trying to sit down and think about. Obviously, like I say, 94. I was not buying anything, but it's probably a few years after that I finally make that first purchase. Um,
I'm
you
trying to think
know,
what my first online purchase would have been. Like it would have been in maybe middle school. I'm 11, 12, maybe buying
Mhm.
ringtones or something like that.
We pulled out some other just random tech stuff. Rob found that Apple at that point in time was making just crazy, crazy investments in technology, some that bombed.
Yeah.
But we found something, and Sony had gotten into this, and we'll put a picture up, but Sony had
Oh,
made something called the Magic Link, and it was essentially like the first handheld computer.
yeah. Like your
Um,
Palm Pilot. Like, when I look
yeah,
at it, that's the first thing that comes to mind. I don't think the Sony Magic Link when I look at it. I think the Palm
Mm,
Pilot.
exactly. And they talked about, it called it a personal digital assistant or something like that.
PDA.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
you
that's
go.
where they all came from. The
And
PDAs.
it allowed you to email and all these things. The problem is, I think you had to plug in a phone line. So it's
Jeez.
not exactly mobile because, we weren't over the air at that time. So you plugging in. And the biggie that I noticed was this thing retailed for $1,000.
Doing
Yes,
like the Dr.
exactly.
Evil thing over here.
One
$1,000.
$1,000 in 1994. So
Man.
when you're complaining about that 699 iPhone, the new iPhone is six
Right.
ninety nine,
But
799. Yeah, in 1994, Sony was trying to sell a device that you could email. It had games and it's a neat tool, but $1,000.
and
So
it's
needless
not
to
it
say,
like you say the price. It's
yeah,
like the prices today, they're also broken up. You don't even realize you're paying for it because it's broken up over your 24-month
that's right.
phone contract here. So like
There
no.
were there were there were people still paying for the Sony Magic Link today because of because of the $30 a month or whatever.
It's
But
like the Bobby Bonilla day. It's
yeah, this
like-
this
oh,
thing bombs,
yeah.
and just because it never works the way they intend it, the network is slow, all these different things. But it was fascinating to see that, hey, they were trying this in 94, already starting to think down because obviously we had cell phones by 94. You'd had beepers for a very long time, and the ability to connect with somebody remotely was always needed. And now with email exploding as the form of how we were communicating in 94,
Yep.
the ability to email in a handheld device was definitely on everybody's mind, something that they wanted, but they weren't ready to pay a
No.
$1,000.
It did come with a nice little like leather carrying case, it looked like.
Oh, it does. It does.
That's insane. Oh man. You mentioned some of those other things too. Just to throw it out there,
Yeah.
I know it wasn't 94, but Apple with some of the things they were experimenting with, they had
Hmm.
their like Power Book. So it was like early versions of the laptop that were out there. But the one that stands out to me, and it was 93, not 90, late 93.
Right.
They launched their first attempt at they called it Macintosh TV,
Oh.
where you would plug the computer into your TV to get a better display, what they thought would be a better display for your computing system that you're using, your Mac operated Macintosh computer there. But uh, one of those things, it's like you look back at it and you're like, oh, we have Apple TV today, and it's
Hmm.
a little box you plug into your HDMI port and you get access to. I mean, you can mirror your computer to an Apple TV and use the display, but like talk about ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Obviously, Magic Link too, another great example of a product that was way ahead of its time and
Way ahead of its
had
time.
ideas of like what could be possible, but maybe the physical form of technology wasn't there yet, or the consumer wasn't there yet. But I just there's so much of that, and what a great example.
Yeah. It's wild. We had all sorts of technology meeting up with the limitations at the time, and some worked, some didn't, but yeah, fascinating year. We're gonna we'll sum up our year with we'll start some highlights of the year, some scandals, some things that some popped up, some deaths that popped up. We were, we did in the movies episode. I don't even know if we talked about it, but in modern times, superhero movies are we it's they've slowed down, but it seemed like in the last 10 years there was like 10 a year coming out.
Mhm.
And in early February of that year, Jack Kirby had passed away at 76. And if you know who Jack Kirby is, or if you don't, he co-created most of the Marvel characters
Yeah.
with Stan Lee. He was the cartoonist. He drew them. So the writers would come up with ideas, and he would draw. So they all get a creation kind of
So
credit.
the look of them, I like Stan Lee, maybe the brain behind like the direction and the storytelling of it, but like he's like the reason Spider-Man looks the way he does is because of Jack Kirby.
Yeah, but it was like he was the cartoonist on the Ant-Man, the Avengers, the Black Panther, the Fantastic Four, the Hulk,
Wow.
Iron Man, Silver Surfer, Thor, the X-Men. It was a massive amount. But he passes away in 94 as a 76-year-old man.
Yeah.
So he never gets to see this explosion that, Stan Lee, who lived into his 90s, got to see. So that was like it was an interesting
Probably would
thing,
have been in the movies alongside because wasn't Stan Lee's thing always to get a little cameo?
He
Bet you
got a
Kirby
cameo in.
would have
Oh,
been in there too.
absolutely. It would have been there as well. But you
Wow.
know, incredible what he was able to do. We talked about Kurt Cobain
Yeah.
had died that year as well. We saw President Richard Nixon passes away in yeah in '94.
Yeah.
I was think there was like one more. Oh yeah. Well, this is into the scandals. So
Yeah.
if you've seen the Netflix series Dahmer, you
Hummer.
would know this. But Jeffrey Dahmer, who was a serial killer, cannibal, you name it, weird dude,
Weird.
yeah, had been sentenced. He had been caught and sentenced to, I imagine, life in prison, whatever. He was not getting out.
No.
And
And
in late '94, he is clubbed to death
Mr.
in.
Mr. Christopher Scarver does the world of service.
Oh my gosh.
You know.
Yes, in Wisconsin, in the gym, like, but yeah, so
Something
He
tells me
is.
that's one of those situations where the
Oof.
guards just like open the door and let it happen.
Can
Like
we?
they knew it was coming, you
He's
know?
like, I don't support this, but I'm going to be
Right.
on break
Like,
for about
I'm just gonna turn my head.
10 minutes.
Right.
You guys go play some basketball in the
Yeah.
gym, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Here's a
So
club.
yeah, yeah. I left the baseball equipment out, but
Man.
crazy, man. Wow. But that was serial killer. Weird time. But
And not the only serial killer tied to that year too, which is crazy. You
oh
think of some of the
yeah,
big names in I don't want to call it an industry, but
that's awful.
the
But
serial
yes,
killer world.
yeah.
What's it? Rifkin is also sentenced that year,
Yeah, so
found
Joel
guilty.
Rifkin had been caught, and his
Yeah,
trial was in '94, and he was only found guilty of like 9 counts of second degree, but that
only.
yeah, that got him 203 years.
I
Uh,
love I love the
I,
way they worded it.
yeah,
203 years to life.
to
I
life.
think to life.
So
Right. I think
I'm,
that
I'm
does
pretty healthy. I
it.
may make it to 205. Well, if you
So
make it to
well,
203, we're gonna let you out.
still no.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, that was a funny one as well because I don't know. I know Dahmer, I
Yeah.
know Ted Bundy, but I did not know Joel Rifkin except for a famous Seinfeld episode where Elaine starts dating a guy named what?
Joel Rifkin. Or
Joel Rifkin, and she
oh
is trying
man.
to get him to change his name legally because she
Yeah.
really likes him. She is not going to
Can't
be
do the name.
married to Joel Rifkin,
Rifkin.
and of course they go to the Giants football game and they're going to get Kramer. Kramer's going to come. He's going to pick up the tickets at will call. Of course, Kramer doesn't carry a wallet,
Right.
so he has no ID. So they're like, "Well, the guy who left you the tickets has to come and say." He's like, "Well, his name's Joel Rifkin." So
Yeah.
over the loudspeaker in Giant Stadium, they announced that they need Joel Rifkin to come.
And Elaine, doesn't she like
And I'm
scoot
like,
down like I don't
oh,
know
it's
this guy?
crazy. It's like, it's
What?
amazing. But this
Oh man.
scumbag serial killer would have gone away. No one would ever known him. But the Seinfeld episode,
Keeping him around.
oh man. And I don't, the worst scandal of the year. I don't even know how about talk about this because it actually happened in the year before. But I may put a link up so you can go search all
This
the
is this
the
is one
gory
we won't
details.
we won't put any images over top.
No,
No
no,
headlines, nothing. It's just
nothing.
go.
But
We just got to do it.
in I think it was in '93, a story broke of a woman whose husband was horrible abuser, and she got
Had enough.
tired of it.
Yeah.
You're not abusing me anymore, and she
I'll say it if you want, but
yeah, you go right ahead.
she chopped his penis right off.
Chops it off,
Chopped it off.
takes it, drives down the road, chunks it out the window,
Yeah. Oh.
and and the outcry, it was a huge scandal, news story, whatever, because at the end of the day, you're like, this guy was a scumbag. Is this deserved? And all these things. And so the trial goes on, and the trial is in '94.
Yep.
And they find her,
Temporarily insane.
temporarily
Yeah.
insane or whatever. But I I am shocked. We have the Dahmer documentary. We have the Rifkin call out. Is there is there a Lorena Bobbitt uh, movie, Netflix series? It just seems like in the world we love crazy scandal stories.
There is. There's
There
an
is.
Amazon original on Lorena Bobbitt. Yeah.
Okay, there you
Uh,
go.
it's just called Lorena.
Just Lorena. Okay,
Yeah. Well, it
okay.
came out in 2019, so add it to your watch list if
I'm
you
gonna go
want.
no. I'm gonna go no.
Why
I'm gonna
not?
trust. I'm gonna trust. Dude, you got what's coming to you, but I don't know if I want to
See,
see
here's
that.
the thing. It's I don't know if I'll have to read the description on it. I don't know if it's like if it's a true documentary or if it's like an original series where it's like
Ah,
a reenactment, if you will,
yeah,
of it. But whoo boy, it's out there.
yeah. Yeah, and another interesting, we're getting ready to close up on 94. We've spent so much time on 94. It's been
Man, it's
awesome.
been
But
fun.
there's one thing I wanted to point out because I was curious about Rob's association. But The Far Side was a amazing cartoon back in the 80s. I'm pretty sure I still have my Far Side galleries over here. But I like to think they're so biting in the satire and stuff. They're almost like early memes. It just he drew them. But I was curious. He retires. Gary Larson had done The Far
Mhm.
Side. He retires in '94. It continued into syndication and stuff. But I was curious, Rob being only 6, 7 years old, then
Yeah.
if you knew what The Far Side was.
So I did have to look it up. Just to I off name, I don't know it, but I was an avid print paper reader when I used to take the metro into DC for work. So they had, a couple different publications you could pick up, just like maybe like 20, 30 page newspapers for while you're sitting there reading, get the news, updates, whatever. And it was in there. It's looking at it, I definitely recall, what it was, and seeing a whole bunch of them, like just the one slide comics, right? Like not scripts, not your strips, right? It was
Nope.
just one picture with a little funny description or something along those
And
lines.
and that's why it reminds me of a meme because a meme
Yeah,
is you take a picture and you put one sentence, one word,
yeah.
whatever, and you understand exactly what's going on. And he was kind of doing that early on, just
Yeah.
with cartoons. And we'll throw a couple of random ones up there, but Beware of Doug is still
Still a good
still one of
one.
my favorites of all time. But his one of his most famous was the school. I think it's School for the Academically Gifted, and it's a kid pushing on a door. He's pushing on the door and it says pull on it. And it's just like
Oh,
genius
still
because
have.
it's just
It's
everybody's
so
done
good.
this, but it's
Right.
so good. You got this
Yeah.
genius
You could
kid
be
who's pushing.
so smart.
Yes. I love it, and
Oh.
but anyway, he retires in '94 as well. So much good stuff in '94. Craziness. I don't know. How do we, in the catch-all category, how do we
Hey,
finish
how do we
up with
close it?
our,
I don't even know if you can pick. It's kind of one of those things, and not to say we get away from what we do, right? Like
Mhm.
the twisted eras, pick an era, but like
Yeah.
it's just neat to see that time and how it's changed. So this
Yeah.
is not one where I don't think we have to talk about what's better, what era was better.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I, they all stand on their own, and it's kind of like the good opportunity in a catch-all episode and a season finale episode, even, to just take the opportunity to be like to look at how times changed.
Yeah.
And it's neat to see from, going back to the sports and the TV and the movies, the music, to all of everything we talked about today and on this episode, just how it's evolved. There's so many callbacks to that era, 294 to 30 years ago,
Hmm.
and a lot of what happened then, it clearly has influenced and still has influence over what's happening today. So
Right.
um, just a neat moment to pause, I think, and think
Yeah.
about like how we've evolved as a society, how these industries have evolved, how the way we engage with our media and our content has evolved, and um, it's been a whirlwind for me, and I'm sure you as well to
Oh,
think about it all and look at it,
absolutely.
but
But
so cool too.
if you think about the eras, though, what would be fun would be 30 years from now
Yeah, what's
talking
it gonna
about
look
it
like?
because we highlighted it over and over and over again. Did we ever envision being able to stream movies, music,
Right.
TV shows? Never. Did we ever envision to do handhelds and all these different things? And now
And
we
we're
have all
on
that.
we're on the cusp too right now. You talk about looking at technology and
Hmm.
how that's evolved over the past 30 years. Right now, we're at an interesting cusp where there's a great clip, and maybe I'll find it and throw it, of Steve Jobs talking about artificial intelligence back in like the late 80s, early 90s.
Hmm.
Um, we're sitting here today, and you've got all
Hmm.
these tools of ChatGPT and the open AIs that I know they own ChatGPT, but like all the image and video generators that we talked about, you know, uh, looking at this season, and I think we specifically mentioned it around like Mario and like the trailers. I went down a rabbit hole. There's more than just Mario, so there you could look at. There's a whole account that I'll drop a link in the description to that has like Family Guy and Seinfeld, like all these different things redone in the 1950s aspect, but like AI is sitting at this precipice where it feels like it's going to do so many things in the future and have a
Yeah,
lot of influence over what's to come. And um, 30 years from now, I think we'll be sitting back looking at this moment and sort of how it it's been around. Don't get me
yeah,
wrong. Like AI has been in our products, whether we've known it or
sure,
not. Some, promote it, like especially in the appliance industry, around how like AI is used to diagnose problems and let the company
right.
know and that sort of. But like AI as a consumer tool, um, I mean, I think we just saw it at the Apple event not too long ago how they're gonna integrate ChatGPT into the next version of iOS. So
Right.
it's a big moment. This is like a watershed type moment where we're now getting unfettered access to these tools and how they influence technology over the next 30 years. Who knows?
Yeah, and you
Many
think
other
about this,
aspects of life.
it will tie into everything because your scandals could be AI scandals. They
Yeah,
could be,
absolutely.
you know,
Deep
deep
fakes. Oh my
fakes.
God. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, just was at a cybersecurity event not too long ago where they're talking
Hmm.
about that phishing attempts that we
Hmm.
know today. Like just the email, like, hey, I need your social security number so I can deposit 300 million rupees into your
That's
bank
right.
account for safekeeping while I move from Saudi Arabia to the US. Um, the obviously fake, but like they're getting way more sophisticated because of
Oh
AI.
yeah.
And
Oh
so
yeah.
it's like not even just fishing, it's like deep sea fishing at this point, right? They've got new names for it. Spear fishing is what they call it, like
Yeah.
very
Okay.
targeted attempts to like spear fish, if you will. The potential targets there. But yeah, it's crazy what AI is doing today. So to think what it could do in 30 years, whoo, it's
It
gonna be
would
a
be
different world.
interesting. Well, awesome. Thanks for coming along this ride with
Yeah,
us through 1994. It's been awesome. So excited. As Rob said in the beginning, start submitting your ideas
yeah,
of what you would like to hear because we've got a bunch of ideas. We got
I
new
know.
stuff coming, but we would love to hear your feedback as well.
This has been an absolute blast, Mr. Marsh.
Yes, sir.
Diving into 94. I know we'll have to pick a different year too. Maybe not to that we have to do it every year, but like we
But
could,
it's your turn.
it's, I know, right?
You have to pick your
Pick a different
21st
era.
birthday year, right?
Right. So we'll do it. But no, this was awesome. Great to button it up with this catch-all episode. And like you said it, we look forward to doing more. But
Absolutely.
until then, keep it twisted.